Good evening, friends. How is everybody? Good evening. Let's see. It is just a little after 9 here. Sorry for our delay getting started. Fortunately, I'm having a good chuckle because when it comes to technology, I'm not much of a minimalist. So I'm sitting here with two computers, one of which is still running through its Windows restarting reboot. Right, yeah, 4 minutes, just on time. Thanks, Danielle. So glad you all could join us. This is the official kickoff to one of our favorite challenges of the year. This is the May Minimalism Challenge. It's the fourth challenge that we've done around minimalism here at the New Leaf Meditation Project. And we're going to talk a little bit about how this challenge started and what we hope to get out of the next 10 days together. But I just want to start real quick, mostly for myself, selfishly, just with 2 minutes of silent meditation. I just want to get kind of present. I've been running around since I left the house at 4:30 this morning, right up until about 15 minutes ago when I ran here. So I think we might just take a couple minutes. I don't even have a bell. So I'm just going to go ahead and set my timer here. I'll just take 2 minutes. If you've never meditated before, this is a great opportunity to just sit still, relax into the present moment, turn your attention to the experience of the breath. And we'll come back to our conversation in just 2 minutes. Thank you. I've been meditating for years. I think this is officially the 10th year that I've been meditating, and it never ceases to amaze me that even just sitting for 2 minutes can really help me settle down and relax. It's been a crazy day. I commuted 165 miles to start this morning. I walked into a disaster at work, and I've been booked wall to wall right up until now, 9 o'clock in the evening. So it's a little bit of a frantic day. So thanks for letting me take a minute and start this session off by sitting with you guys. I love the May Minimalism Challenge. Let me go ahead and give you the history with this. In the fall of 2013, I went through a rather unexpected breakup from a woman that I'd been with for 11 years. We were married at the time. And I had to move. I took a new job. Everything happened very suddenly. I hired some movers. I threw a ton of stuff into a truck, and I went from Scranton, Pennsylvania to Long Island. I moved into a 1,600 square foot loft by myself, 2 bedrooms, living room, the whole 9 yards, and filled it. I needed that much space just because of the stuff I was bringing with me. It was apparent to me that it was too much, that one person didn't need so much. It felt exhausting just physically moving all of that stuff, touching things that I hadn't looked at in years, wondering why I had so many unopened packs of batteries and 17 pairs of the same exact pair of pants. And so I had this kind of very visceral reaction because of literally carrying up and down in the third floor apartment. I think my Fitbit said that day I had done something like 127 flights of stairs, and that was with 3 professional movers helping. So you can imagine how much stuff I had. So that May of 2014, we had our first May Minimalism Challenge. And it was pretty informal. I got together by email a few of my friends. I'm pretty sure Danielle, who is on this in the chat room, Danielle, remind me if you were actually in that. I can't remember if you were in that group. But a few of us got together and we just emailed each other every day. And I provided a little quote, something that I pulled from literature or from whatever it is, Goodreads or any of these quote pages about living simply, and then shared a photograph of what I was decluttering or recycling or giving away on that day. I think I gave away basically a banker's box filled of clothes or books or stuff every day for those 30 days. It was amazingly freeing. I learned a lot about myself through the process. One of the things I was really confronted with was what to do with all of this stuff from my wedding. What do you do with wedding pictures when you get divorced? Particularly in my case, where it was an amicable divorce. We've actually maintained a nice friendship to this day. I don't want to lug these photographs around place to place, but at the same time, it doesn't feel right to get rid of them. So I was sort of confronted with some real practical questions. But I was also really stuck with this question of why. Why did I have so much stuff? Why did it feel so wasteful? Why did at the time I obviously felt like I needed these things when I bought them? What was even more interesting to me is when we returned to the minimalism practice in 2015 and then again in 2016, I started discovering this idea that minimalism was more than just decluttering my personal life, getting less stuff out of the house, giving stuff away, recycling, buying less. Those are certainly important components and definitely physical manifestations. But really discovered with time and applying myself to the practice that minimalism was a way of life. For me, fundamentally, that practice was about discovering just how abundant life really was. When I let go of some of the impulses and things that controlled me and that desire to buy and the need for constant stimulation. And when I started to live more simply, I discovered just how much there really was around me that I was missing. And it was through this that I realized just how deeply linked the meditation practice and minimalism was. When I started to declutter my physical surroundings, it felt easier to meditate. And as I continued to meditate, it felt more natural to declutter my surroundings. Started looking at decluttering my emotional life, my digital life, not getting a bazillion buzzes and bleeps and alerts on my cell phone was a great way of simplifying my social social media and digital life, having a little more the same relationship with my beloved telecommunications. So we're very lucky tonight. We've got a whole bunch of our friends in the chat room. So if you're watching this live, and there's like about 15 or so folks with us right now, love if you have any questions along the way, certainly give a chat. A whole bunch of our New Leaf Meditation volunteer instructors are in there. I see Roxanne and AJ and Danielle and Rich Carney are all in there. So please, they're making fun of my socks. Yes, I have quite a few socks. They'll certainly be able to answer any questions. But what I'd like to do is take the next few minutes just to talk a little bit about meditation. And if you've never meditated before, if you're coming to this challenge for the first time, it's the first time you're in a New Leaf Meditation Project challenge, you may be surprised that we're starting a conversation about minimalism with meditation. But I hope that by the end of this little 10-minute introduction to meditation, you'll have a clear understanding as to why it's foundational to a minimalist practice. They really support each other. Um, so real simply, I think many of us come to meditation with a couple of myths. The kind of practice that we apply ourselves to here at New Leaf is a very simple concentration practice. It's a breath awareness practice. It's technically known as Zazen, Zen meditation's foundational practice. And really all we're doing is we're sitting still and we're putting our attention fully, completely on the experience of the breath. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to be mindful of our posture, our breath, and our mind. But before we start, there's two things that I think are important myths that we should just address before we get into it here. The first is meditation is not no thinking. Brains think in the same ways that eyes see and ears hear. Your brain's going to think while we're meditating. And actually that's beneficial because it is these distracting thoughts that you encounter while you're meditating that is what we're going to be working with. That's the very exercise, is recognizing these distracting thoughts, releasing them, and returning to the experience of the breath. That's where we get benefit out of meditation. So you're not going to experience in the 3 to 5 minutes of meditation you're going to be doing a day during the course of this challenge some experience of thoughtlessness. If you think that you went through 5 minutes of meditation and you had no thoughts, I would argue that you just weren't observing how active your mind really was. The second myth that I think is important before we talk a little bit about the meditation technique to address is this idea of meditation being an escape. This practice is about living in the present moment. We use the breath as an anchor because breaths aren't in the future or in the past, right? I'm not usually remembering the breath that I took on Tuesday last week. Oh, I had this 2 p.m. breath. It was just amazing. It felt all airy. I don't know. I'm going to get teased for that one. Right? If we're coming to this kind of meditation practice looking for an escape, we're going to be woefully disappointed. This kind of meditation helps us wake up to our life, right? We start seeing how crazy our mind is. We start seeing our thoughts and emotions a little more clearly. It actually allows us to handle those emotions a little more gracefully, and we grow a lot through this emotional awareness, but it's not an escape. I think what I've learned about difficult emotions over the years is there's really no way around them. There's only through them. And this meditation practice is a great way of becoming intimate with ourselves. So this practice, I'm going to recommend that for the 3 to 5 minutes that we're going to be meditating through the course of the Minimalism Challenge. And I really hope that you'll start each of your minimalist practices, exercises that we'll engage with over the next 10 days with a few minutes of meditation. Again, it doesn't need to be much. 1, 2, 3 minutes, absolutely perfect. Just kind of get in touch with your breath. We're going to focus on 3 components. We're going to try to be perfectly still with our body while we're meditating. We do that to eliminate distractions. And if we want to be still, but we don't want to be distracted, we want to be able to sit comfortably. So our posture becomes very important. You see, many of us have come to believe that a prerequisite for a quiet mind is a still and quiet body. So if you're sitting on a chair, actually put your feet flat on the ground, your legs at a 90-degree angle. We're going to support ourselves. I'm not leaning back, crushing my chest, making it difficult to breathe. I'm sort of supporting myself upright in the chair. My spine is amazingly strong. If I have a nice, well-balanced spine, not leaning too far forward or back or left or right, I can stay perfectly still for as long as I like without creating any tense muscles or discomfort. Our hands, we can just very simply rest on our thighs, right? Don't want to have them too far forward, creating my shoulders collapsing in. Don't want to have them too far back and creating tension, just somewhere that gives a nice neutral posture. I'm going to tuck my chin in just a little bit. This is going to set my gaze 2 or 3 feet in front of me on the floor. Kind of continues that nice healthy spine all the way up to the top of my head. We're going to keep our mouth closed because we're going to breathe in and out through our nose for this exercise. And you can simply lower your eyes, soften your gaze. If you prefer, you can close your eyes during the meditation. This posture is very solid. right? Feet rooted on the floor, legs in a nice 90-degree angle. Hips tilted just a little bit forward to help my back support itself. Not leaning too far forward or back, left or right. My arms in a position that supports a nice open chest to allow nice, deep, natural, easy breathing. I'm going to tuck my chin in, just softly gazing at the floor 2 or 3 feet in front of us. Mouth is closed, breathing in and out through my nose. I'm going to softly gaze at the ground or close my eyes completely. If you have any questions about the posture, you can go ahead and ask. You've got some real experts in the chat room. Our friend Jessica is also in there. She's got a great yoga practice along with being a wonderful meditator. So you've got some real experts. Certainly, if you're watching this recorded, you can always email me, anthony@newleafmeditation.org, and we can answer your questions there. So the posture is just about being able to sit still and comfortable, or eliminating physical distractions. Same for environment. We can meditate anywhere. You can meditate in a noisy room or on a subway. But when we're beginners in meditation, we try to use a quiet space that doesn't have loud TVs or distracting things on it. It allows us to pay attention to what's happening with our mind a little bit more clearly. Second component after our body is our breath. This is not a deep breathing exercise. We're not trying to control our breath. Breath is right here, right now. So much of the therapeutic quality of meditation is that we're not in the future where anxiety lives. We're not in the past where depression and anger reside. We're just right here. Got a roof over my head, some food in my belly. Doesn't matter if I have some financial troubles waiting for me or a big assignment at work tomorrow. Right here, I'm not being chased by a bear. There's no inclement weather. Right here, right now, tends to be a fairly safe place. And by being connected to the experience of my breath, I am connected to the present moment. If my posture is good, if my spine is upright, if my body's relaxed, if I'm just letting my breathing happen naturally, if I'm not controlling it, it slowly begins to deepen. I can feel my diaphragm expanding gently into my belly. There's a soothing quality to the breath, kind of like the waves of an ocean, just kind of gently moving in and out. You can put your attention, you can really focus in really right where the cool air rushes in at the tip of your nose, the back of your throat, the expansion of your chest, or the pressing of your diaphragm. You can feel your breath all the way down to your lower abdomen. There's no right or wrong place, wherever it's most comfortable for you. And that leads us, now that we have our body in place and we're getting connected to our breath, with what are we doing with our mind? We're going to recommend very simply for the 3 to 5 minutes that you meditate every day to just count the breaths. Inhale, count 1. Exhale, count 2. Inhale, count 3. Exhale, count 4. Just like that, up to the count of 10. When you get to 10, we're going to go back down to 1. Inhale 1, exhale 2. And the counting is just a way of keeping us connected with the breath. It doesn't take a lot of processing, cognition, mental power to count the breath. It just sort of happens nice and naturally, just simply noting. It's a little bit like a guide rail. We notice if we're getting distracted and running away with a thought, when we notice we no longer know what number we're on. And it's very important we don't judge ourselves. It's our brain's nature to think, right? We evolved this amazing ability to process a lot of different stimuli at once. We're going to teach our brain something a little more radical. We're going to let go of those distracting thoughts. And each time we notice we've run away, we're just going to return back to the experience of the breath. We think about this in a little clever way of 4 R's. We recognize that we've gotten distracted. We release our thoughts. We return to the experience of the breath. And most importantly, the 4th R, we repeat this over and over again. Right? So here I'm sitting, I breathe in, I count 1, I exhale, I count 2. I breathe in, I count 3. I remember, oh gosh, at 8 a.m., I've got to have 2 more slides. Oh, right, it's okay. I know what I got to do. I'll deal with that when the time comes. We're just going to release that thought. And the way that we release a thought is by returning our attention fully and completely back to the experience of the breath. Recognize the thought, release a thought by returning the attention back completely and fully to the experience of the breath. It is through this process that we develop a very subtle attention to what's happening between our ears. And why is this important for our minimalism practice? There is something in this quieting that allows us to see just how frantic our mind really is, right? Many of us have an experience when we first start meditating that it feels a little bit like we're going crazy. It almost becomes overwhelming to see how much is happening in between our ears. This is a very natural experience. You're not going crazy. You've always been crazy. This is just the first time you're seeing it clearly, right? This practice of recognizing those distracting thoughts and releasing them, returning to the breath, gives us the ability to place our mind and our focus where we want it to be. I find this particularly helpful when we start talking through the course of the challenge and we look at the impulses, what drives us to be walking through the store and picking things off the shelf that we don't need. What are those impulses? What's attached to that? What's driving us in those situations? How do we create an intervention where we have some space between that impulse and that action so that we can even start controlling the flow of stuff coming into our homes, the accumulation of possessions that seem to so clutter our lives. This practice of recognizing and releasing starts to shape the way that we view our whole life. This very simple tool of awareness is the starting point for minimalism, right? So, I'm wondering if there are any questions about that. I'd love to. There's a little bit of a delay here in the video, so I'm probably 20 or 30 seconds ahead of you guys. So I'd love to hear if you have any questions about meditation. It seems like we've got a lot of experienced folks in the room. You know, while I'm waiting to see if there's any questions there, you know, I'll just talk a little bit about the outline of the challenge. Every day we're going to send out an email, have a little video reflection with it. There'll be a quote, there'll be a recommended exercise. That recommended exercise will start with 1, 3, or 5 minutes of meditation. And then we'll have some kind of mindful minimalist practice. Mindfulness is the idea of bringing our meditation into motion, right? And this is kind of a really important step from taking how our meditation starts shaping our day, right? The beautiful thing about this practice where we place our attention on the experience of the breath and we use this recognizing, releasing, and returning over and over is you can substitute anything for the experience of the breath. So our very first decluttering project, the assignment you're going to get tomorrow, is to take a very simple place in your house, something you can do in 3 to 5 minutes. We really believe and I'll talk about this in closing in a second about why we talk about 3 to 5 minute increments. But we're going to do one sock drawer or one counter in the kitchen or one drawer. We're not going to tackle that massive closet. Some of our group members, like Christine, are going to share some of their examples. We're going to have some of our friends sharing in the discussion groups what they're decluttering each day. Right? But we're going to do very manageable spaces. So we're going to, for our mindful decluttering tomorrow, we're going to pick something doable. Sock drawer, Danielle, yes, sock drawer. And we're going to simply clear our mind, take 2 or 3 minutes, get in contact with our breath. And then when we go about our decluttering, we're going to try to bring that same awareness to the act of decluttering. Right? So this becomes a little more complicated. We're no longer linking our attention to the experience of the breath. We're now paying attention to, there's a mess of papers here, and I'm going to, there's the physical sensation of sorting through things, of figuring out where they go and placing them. Mindfulness is this idea of bringing your attention awareness back to that same experience over and over again. Right? So in the same way we were experiencing the breath and letting go of distracting thoughts, we're going to experience sorting the papers and putting them in order. feeling the tactile sensation of the paper in between our hands, thinking about when we recognize that, oh, that's a letter from my aunt. And gosh, I haven't talked to Susie in a while. I wonder how Susie, oh, I don't need to run away with that thought. I can release that thought, return back to the experience of sorting these the way I need to. So that meditation is going to give us a way of very artfully interacting with the experience of decluttering. So we're going to have an assignment like that for each of the 10 days. What I think will be a little surprising for some folks for whom this is their first minimalist challenge with us is we're also going to talk about simplifying some other areas of our life. Decluttering is absolutely a wonderful benefit, and we're going to do a lot of that. We're going to certainly look at some of those drawers that need to be emptied and those surfaces that need to be straightened out. But we're also going to look at our email box. Do we need to unsubscribe from some of the emails? Do we need to reduce the number of notifications that we're getting on our phone? We're going to look at our emotional life. Are we clinging on to anger? We need to work on forgiveness, right? So we're going to look at minimalism really as an approach to life, of how we can discover through simplicity and stripping things down, how we get to their core essence, and we can really experience the fullness, the abundance of life. So it doesn't look like I've got any questions here in the group, so I'll start to bring this to a close here. Look out for a daily email from me, and there's going to be very modest exercises. And this is sort of the closing thought here. Why this emphasis on 1, 3, or 5 minutes of meditation? Why a 3 or 5 minute decluttering? I'm here, I want to like get rid of all this stuff. I want to just, I feel ready. I did my master's research in education on habit formation, specifically looked at motivation and commitment devices for new meditators. And one of the things we see is that we come to a meditation practice or a minimalist practice in this case because there's some level of distress, right? We're feeling overwhelmed by the clutter, we have too much anxiety, we've got too much stuff going on, and we want a simpler life, right? So we're willing to, in this first moments of distress, we're willing to move mountains. The problem is we'll very quickly start to feel better. In a week or two, we'll no longer have that same great motivation. We can all identify with this because on January 1st, so many of us have wonderful aspirations for losing that weight, saving that money, learning that new language or skill. We don't want to have that same disappointment many of us experience with New Year's resolutions. We want to do small, modest goals, tiny habits, which we refer to them, that we can really make a part of our daily life. Minimalism is most rewarding, in the same way that a meditation practice is most rewarding, if we really make this a part of our day-to-day life, and we can carry this practice through the course of many weeks, many months. I can tell you that my life has gotten very challenging to use as an example for the minimalism challenge. I have very few possessions. If you don't count my individual socks, I own less than 125 items. I don't have 17 plates anymore. I have 2. I don't have 16 cups and glasses. I have 2. I don't have 14 pairs of pants. I have 3 pairs of pants. Those are some of the physical manifestations of how, over the years of simplifying my life, I just have a whole lot less stuff. But I can tell you emotionally, I don't have any grudges. I can't think of any relationships in my life that I owe somebody an apology, or that I harbor some shame or guilt about that I haven't tried to address. This minimalism practice has really set me free. I spend less money, I'm in a whole lot less debt, and I'm emotionally in a much happier place. So it's really a rewarding practice, but it didn't happen from that first month that we did the May Minimalism Challenge. It came from this being a part of my life for now 4 years. So I really want you to like jump into this idea that like to be successful, you're doing 3 to 5 minutes of decluttering a day, or you're spending 3 to 5 minutes doing whatever our minimalist exercise is. If you're the person who shows up to the discussion group and shares with all of us that you emptied out that entire mudroom closet that had 17 years worth of stuff in it, I'm not going to say we're going to shame you, because we're all really nice people and we're going to be very accepting. But you might hear some of us encourage you that we can't empty out that crazy closet every single day of our whole life, right? But we can take 5 minutes as part of our morning routine, or as a lunchtime break, or as the end of our day ritual, to just straighten up and tidy and simplify things. And that's how this will really become part of your life. So I'm going to close with that. Sounds like there's some nice little chatting going on in the discussion group here, but I don't see any questions. So look out for the email first thing in the morning tomorrow. I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you. Please, if you're on this YouTube channel and you haven't signed up yet for getting the emails, there's a link right underneath in the comments. It's newleafmeditation.org/May, M-A-Y. There's an email list at the bottom. If you're having any trouble subscribing, or if you have any questions, just email me at anthony@newleafmeditation.org. It's just me on the other end of the email. There's only like 500 or 600 people signed up for this challenge. It's a pretty, it's a manageable amount for us. So I'd love to hear from you guys. You know, send me pictures. Show me how your before and after pictures. Share your success stories. Tell me if you didn't do anything for the first 5 days and you're just catching up on day 6 of this challenge. That's perfectly fine. You know, this is all about starting where you are, accepting it, and just cherishing the fact that we've got a chance to start fresh and new today. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you better through this challenge. Thank you to all my friends, instructors who showed up and supported us tonight and had a nice little chat and helped us get started. I appreciate it. Jessica, Roxanne, AJ, Rich, Danielle, always a pleasure seeing all you guys. So have a good challenge, everybody. Enjoy May Minimalism. I'll talk to you soon.